Are you ready to scale and outsource your business?
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to the Outsourcing and Scaling Show. I'm your host, Nathan Hirsch, a show where we talk about everything Amazon, Shopify, e-commerce, and digital marketing. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Outsourcing and Scaling. Today my guest is Alex Vitkin. Alex, how are you doing today?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm doing fantastically well here, and really appreciate your time.
Well, we appreciate yours as well. For those of you who don't know, Alex has helped over 700 people with sincere interest in entrepreneurship and contribution to start profitable businesses, quit their jobs, and travel the world. Alex teaches freelancers and agencies to build a business, which is what we're all about if you've listened to me for any period of time. Alex, we're going to talk about all that. Before, I want to take a step back. What were you doing before all this? Well, talk to us about growing up and how you got into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I always had this weird vision as a kid that somehow I was going to end up in like this boardroom with a CEO and I was going to advise them. I know it's like a very strange kind of fantasy to have for a 7-year-old, but for some reason I must have seen it in some movie somewhere. So I had this weird vision and it didn't come to fruition until I graduated college. And I studied business. So I graduated college and everyone was getting jobs and they were saying, Alex, what is your career going to be? And I thought, wait a second, I don't want this. I just did internships. They were fun and all, but I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And I'm reading all these entrepreneurship books. So I'm going to go straight into business as a consultant from day one. This was 2008 to 2009. So it must have been quite funny to my friends. And the first 2 years, they were 100% right. It was kind of a failure because I lost more money than I made. And then over the next 4 years, I actually learned how to do it successfully. I started traveling as well. I had a job for 8 months, but after that, I quit forever. I never had a job again. And I ended up building several businesses like drop shipping and SEO websites and running an agency. And some of those were quite successful, others not so much. So at a certain point, about 6 years into my business career, let's say, I figured out that people want to learn from me and how I'm traveling the world and how I'm building a business. So I started a YouTube channel and then I started consulting people on that one-on-one. I had a bunch of consulting clients that I was teaching how to build a business that just found me on YouTube. So I started this thing called Daily Business Hustle back then that eventually turned into businessmatter.com. And now we're 227 people in there. So it's a worldwide community of entrepreneurs and people join. We teach them business skills and they end up going from running having a freelancing career or a job to running an agency, just tech marketing and creative. So that's like the 2-minute summary right there.
No, so let's talk about that because that's something that I preach. We obviously have a lot of freelancers on the FreeUp platform and getting in the mentality of looking at yourself as a business and not just working for someone else in a remote job is usually the first step to having more success and really scaling. Where do you see people failing and how do you get people into that mentality?
Well, the way I see people failing, especially if they're freelancers, is they end up doing all these different gigs for different clients that are totally different from each other. So they do a little bit of SEO, a little bit of Google Ads, a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. And they end up filling in positions in people's companies instead of building their own process and a single service that they deliver in like a factory environment. So they, instead of doing, creating a process, creating a business, they end up doing a bunch of different projects that are unrelated to each other. So they are essentially running 3 or 4 different tiny little businesses. And at the same time, they're not building any assets for themselves. So they're building someone else's business. They're not building their own business. They're building someone else's email list, but they're not building their own email list. They're building someone else's, wealth. And for themselves, they're not really getting that much in return. They're getting an hourly rate usually. So if you want to get out of that, you need to learn several new skills, right? So you need to learn how to create these processes. You need to learn how to close sales properly so that you're not running from projects that you don't really want to do to another project that you don't really want to do, to actually choosing your clients, choosing who you work with, and be an absolute expert. So creating a business that's an absolute top of the line in delivering a certain type of result to a certain type of client. And this doing everything for everyone versus being, the go-to business for a certain type of solution. Those are two very, very different things that are run in very, very different ways.
So let's talk about building your own processes, because I think that's where a lot of freelancers struggle. They're always looking to do things the way that the client wants it. And you talked a little bit about niching down. How does someone go about creating processes for their freelance business?
Okay, so first of all, build up some skill level by freelancing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of freelancing. Do that for a while and have 10, 20 clients over a year, maybe a year and a half, and then go back and look at your best performing clients, look at the clients that did better than most and that you liked working with the most and that referred you to most business and that didn't require babysitting. And then drop all the other clients that are kind of wasting your time, not getting results and so on, and focus only on that 20% that are the best clients, that are the clients you actually want to work with. Once you have that, once you've niched down, then the real fun can begin. Then you can start giving away parts of the processes that you're running. So you're doing things every day. You're doing lead generation, you're doing sales calls, you're doing delivery, all kinds of stuff, client management. Start with the easiest skills first, or rather the easiest processes first. Let's say lead generation, give that away to a VA, go hire one. They're not that expensive. And once you have VA doing lead generation, for example, presto, you suddenly have 5 to 10 hours extra per week to work on your business instead of being a lead generation employee in your own business, right? So you outsource that for $5 to $15 an hour. Suddenly you have a bunch of time, right? Then you outsource the next thing. Let's say it's delivery. Let's say you're running a Facebook ads agency. What can you do to outsource delivery? How can you find experts that are doing Facebook? Well, you give them 30% of the project fee and you say, you are in charge of delivery here. Okay, for this, you need to be able to charge a lot of money, obviously. If 30% is barely any money, no one good is going to want to work with you. So once you have that figured out, you have lead generation and you have delivery outsourced. You have a tiny little team, like 2 people working for you that are doing those 2 things. Suddenly you have 25 hours a week extra to spend on your business instead of being an employee in your own business. Then you go and do the same thing with client management and eventually even with sales. So what are you doing then once you have those 4 or 5 things, once they're handled by virtual assistants or staff on location? What do you do with your time? You're building your business. And you're not running around extinguishing fires all the time. You're overseeing and you're managing a process that works and you're improving that process. But most of your time is spent on creating new processes, new funnels, scaling, all the cool, fun stuff that gets people from doing $5,000 per month as a freelancer to $50K and above as a business owner. So that's like the super fast summary of how to do it.
I love it. And I love the process. And we actually have a lot of freelancers on the FreeUp platform that are also clients of the FreeUp platform. And they're hiring virtual assistants for lead generation or to handle certain parts of their business. They're obviously upfront and transparent with the client if they're going to be outsourcing anything. But we encourage people to kind of make that transition from a freelancer to agency, assuming the clients are good with it and they are being transparent. Let's talk about pricing. How does someone go about pricing themselves accordingly? And talk about both, let's say, someone who's just getting into freelancing for the first time, how do they figure out their prices, opposed to someone who's really becoming a specialist and an expert?
So someone who's a complete beginner and they want to freelance, the solution is relatively easy. So go look at the other freelancers that are performing the same service and just go down the middle, something in terms of average pricing. So if they're charging in real world, right, not what they're seeing on their profiles or whatever, like in the real world, if they're charging $25 an hour, just start charging $25 an hour, right, as a freelancer. So don't charge less than that. Don't charge less than the average of people working from Western countries and doing the same type of service you're doing. That's for beginners, and that's only for beginners, okay? So once people come to me and they want to learn how to build a business, I say absolutely under no circumstances do what I just said. In fact, do exactly the opposite. Don't look at anyone else and start charging fees that are not hourly at all and start charging fees that are monthly recurring based on a contract. So start locking people down on a 3-month contract or so. I've seen people even do 12 months. Okay. If you're delivering an awesome service that delivers results, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it increases client results. So start locking clients down on 3-month contracts or more. and start charging thousands of dollars. And that's for a single service. So if you do one service, a good example is Facebook ads. If you know that in the industry, a decent agency charges 2.5K, then you can charge 2.5 to 4K as long as you deliver great results. And you can keep increasing that as the results improve for your clients. You can even attach things like profit shares, revenue shares, or even equity. So I've even seen some insanely good media buyers get equity in some businesses. So that's how you do it as an intermediate or advanced. So make sure that under no circumstance you charge, make sure you always charge enough so 30% of the money can go to amazing delivery if you're outsourcing it, okay? So whatever that number is that you need to pay your outsourcers, make sure that's no more than 30%. So it definitely means charge enough. And trust me, people almost never charge enough. They always think, oh, but everyone else is charging like $25 an hour, or everyone else is charging $700 per hour. I can assure you that is not true. I can assure you that once someone who knows what they're doing gets a great lead on a call, they could figure out that that's a great lead, and the great lead is going to pay them more than anything they've listed on any profile, anything they've posted publicly, because what you need to be doing is value-based pricing. So how much value you can deliver, you need to use that as a number on, as a base number to calculate how much you can charge. So if you deliver, let's say, $10,000 for a $1,000 ad spend, guess what? That is a huge ROI that the client is getting. So you can charge a lot more than you're delivering, one-to-one if you're breaking even for them. So once you start niching down, of course, once you start figuring out your ideal client avatar, you can very easily figure out delivery, right? You're simplifying your life, you're simplifying your service, you're simplifying your business, and you're improving your results. Once you have that figured out, pricing just goes through the roof. And that's how you see agencies go to $500,000 a year and over $1 million a year. It's not easy to do, but once you figured it out, it's like magic, really. Especially as your portfolio and your proof grows, because smart buyers, they depend on proof. Who did you work with? There's only two real questions that matter, right? So who do you work with and what are results? That's what smart buyers want to know, buyers with money.
I love it. I think that's a lot of great advice. I want to talk about customer service because in my opinion, this is where I see a lot of freelancers go wrong. I mean, you might get 9 out of 10 clients being awesome and one's a little bit difficult, but it's how do you deal with that difficult issue? How do you deal with maybe you made a mistake or a client's not getting the results that you want? What's your mentality in dealing with those issues as they come up?
So this depends. For me, there are two business models that agencies succeed at. It's the McDonald's business model and the highly customized, very high ticket business model. So the McDonald's business model is where you offer relatively cheap services with limited customer support. So if a client is not happy, you just drop them immediately. Don't talk to them more than a little bit of chatting. Just talk to them a tiny little bit. If they're being difficult, just drop them. If not getting results, just drop them, but have a lot of clients. That's the McDonald's model. And if you deliver, most clients will never even talk to you. They don't need to. They're getting their sales. They're getting the results. There's no need for advanced customer support. People think that every business needs customer support. This is not true. In fact, most businesses don't focus on customer support. It's not necessary, right? Then there's the other model, and that is the highly customized, super high ticket business model. So let's say you offer 3 services, you do $750,000 a year, and you charge 5 to 7.5K for both Facebook ads and Google ads, for example, right, as a service on a monthly basis, plus a small profit share on the back end. So how do you price it? How do you do customer support then? Let's say a customer has an issue. What people do is they have these email back and forths, and they have these angry message exchanges and all this kind of stuff. Forget all that. In the beginning, when you're closing the contract, make sure that the client knows exactly how the communication is going to happen, when the communication is going to happen, who the communication is going to happen with, and under which situations the communication happens. So it doesn't mean, if they want some random advice on some random little thing that they get that they get another, 1 hour call or something like that. It means if a serious issue arises where the account gets shut down or something like that, then within 48 hours, a call can be arranged. For example, right? let's say they want to call every few days at random times. And the contract would say the calls happen on Tuesday at 5 p.m. every single week. And we have it all in our calendars. We show up on time, and that's where we discuss all the issues. We don't chat throughout the week. We discuss it all on this call. So write down everything or put them in our ticketing system. And then on Tuesday at 5 p.m., that is when we discuss everything. If people break the rule, then you're constantly running around and extinguishing fires. If people adhere to this, it can be all done 100 times more efficiently. So it doesn't mean never be available. It means have clear boundaries, okay? Clear boundaries with clients, because it's in their benefit. If you, as the business owner, have to be available on WhatsApp, phone call, Skype, 24/7, you're not going to get any sleep. You're not going to be able to focus on results. You're not going to be able to focus on executing your strategy that has been proven to work for dozens of clients. You're going to be running around and doing random stuff. I don't know if I can use expletives on your podcast here, but you're going to be running around and doing stuff that just doesn't produce any results. And at the end of the day, clients hire you to get results. And you are supposed to be, as the agency owner, the expert, you are supposed to be guiding them through the process. That includes communication, that includes expectation management, and so on. So that's for the high-ticket business model. Two very, very different business models with very different focuses here.
I love it. I mean, I think you and I disagree on some stuff in terms of like dropping client and customer service, which is totally fine, but I'm 100% on board with the expectations. And when I see clients and freelancers having issues, or freelancers coming to me saying, oh, this client's like bothering me too much, they're texting me after dinner, it's always like, what expectations did you set up front? Did you establish when you're going to be meeting, when they can and can't contact you, what your communication is? And the answer is almost always no. And once you start giving a client a little bit of leeway, it's very tough to reel them back in and reset those expectations right from the beginning. Let's talk about scaling the agency. So let's say you have a smaller team, you're giving away that 30%. What's the next step from there to really take your agency, let's say, to the $500,000 or the $1 million plus business?
So to get it to $500,000 is one thing. Beyond $1 million, we'll talk about it then in a second, right? So to get it to $500,000, again, ultra niche down, you can have a funnel running. Let's say you sell ads. It depends on the type of agency, right? So if you run ads, let's say you go from doing retainers to selling leads. So if you want to get to $500,000, once you do selling leads instead of selling retainers, essentially it's selling a service, then scaling becomes much less of a problem, because you always have funnels running. So you always have funnels running. There's always leads coming. And when you get a prospect on a sales call, it's not about prove to me this, prove to me that. It's like, here are the leads. Do you want 10 to see if they're good quality? Here you go. You like them? Okay. Do you want to buy 100 a week? Yes. Sign up. There you go. Done. So that's how you scale to $500,000, like complete automation, almost hands-off experience. And scalability, because the funnel is always running. You're not constantly building a new funnel for every single client.
Right.
That's how you scale to $500,000. Now, you can scale this to beyond $1 million, but currently, I actually recommend something else. And I don't know if you're going to like this, Nathan, to be honest. So the thing I recommend to scale past $1 million is drop the agency. So instead of running an agency beyond the $1 million, learn from your clients and learn the business model that they're running. And keep running the agency with a manager who you give another 20% to, and they run the agency and they bankroll your next business model. So I don't just work with people who have agencies, because we found that oftentimes when someone's run an agency for long enough to get it to 7 figures, they don't have to run an agency anymore. And again, I don't know if you're going to like this, but
are you talking about like stealing the client's business model?
Not stealing anyone's business models. If you work with 20, 30 clients, let's say, who are running e-commerce brands for 2 years, and you know exactly what works, you know exactly what type of targeting works, you know exactly what is in demand on the market, you can make deals with your clients where they get a small percentage of your business. I've seen people make 5% deals, equity deals, and that you can use their teams, you can use their marketing strategy, everything, and you can build a type of business that the clients are running. So you can do this if you have enough experience by working with a few dozen clients, and if you have great marketing skills and so on, you can just do that. And to be perfectly honest with you, once the agency hits 500,000 and you're taking 30 to 50% of that as your profit with a manager running the agency, that's enough to bankroll your next business model, depending on what it is, of course, right? And oftentimes, those are more scalable and explosively scalable business models. Now, again, I don't like that it's that way. I would just like to just say, oh, just do agency forever. But we found, based on cold, hard data, that going to the next business model simply works better. And for you, Nathan, someone would go from running an agency or being a freelancer to becoming a client on your platform, of course, and hiring a bunch of agencies of their own. So it's good for everyone.
So you're really talking about creating a business partnership with that client.
Either creating a business partnership with the client and building a similar business that doesn't compete with them, or just straight up building a whole business like what they have without, of course, stealing anything. No borrowing lists or retargeting, none of that stuff. I'm talking about doing it ethically and, morally. So
got it. So you're saying if you work for an e-commerce client and you get so good and where you're growing at Amazon, an agency for e-commerce clients, to also run an e-commerce business to go along with that agency.
Absolutely. Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Alex, where can people find out more about you?
So we have a huge amount of case studies. So for anyone interested in any of these methods or business models that I've discussed, if you go to businessmentor.com and you click on reviews, or if you go to businessmentor.com/client minus results, then you will find 200 plus case studies of how people have done exactly what I've been talking about here. So take a look at that. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you can actually reach out to my personal Facebook profile, and that is Aleksander Vitkin. So ALEKSANDER and then VITKIN on Facebook. And I'll personally reply to you oftentimes.
Awesome. We'll have links there. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. I know a lot of the freelancers are definitely going to appreciate this, and I look forward to working with you and your community going forward.
Thank you again, Nathan. Thank you for your time, and everyone listening to this, thank you as well, and see you around on the internet.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy this content? If so, click like, leave us a comment, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue bringing you great content all about hiring.